Hi, everybody. Welcome. Guys, you can turn back on your audio and video when you're ready. Welcome, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Good.
Great. Well, we're really excited about this week's edition of Fitter Faster's special Sunday events. Coach Tim Kelly and I have had the opportunity to host some pretty special people. None quite as special as the four guests that we have today. Just a couple quick things. I'd really like to thank Tyler Clary and David Arluck for giving us the platform this weekend to do this. Fitter Faster has been really awesome, and we really appreciate it. And I did want to mention that our chat will be open, and we're welcoming in great relevant questions, and we'll try and keep our eye on that. Hoping that everybody keeps everything relevant and keeps everything clean so that Sergio doesn't have to kick you out of here because kick the guy out, it's no good. Don't do it. So without further ado, Tim Kelly, I'm looking forward to your introductions of these beautiful looking people. I'm so glad Michelle's in the middle to make everything seem so much prettier.
Well, I'm not going to keep it too long because I think the conversations will kind of tell you who they are as we get going. Obviously Jeremy and I both coach with Nation's Capital Swim Club, and all four of these guys represented at that time Curlburg, but have come back on different occasions and have spoke to the team and whatnot. So we've been pretty lucky to our club to have four people like this that have all achieved at a high level. I'll start off with Mike Barrowman, Olympic gold medalist in 1992, and a 1988 Olympian, and multiple. I think Jeremy informed me 6 gold medals.
No,
I mean, 6 world records. Sorry,
swim.
6 world records over his career. And next, I'll go across the screen as I see him is Sergio Lopez, who's college coach right now. I think you can figure out what team he coaches for. Yep, I covered that. But anyway, Sergio has I've cleaned a few pools with Sergio.
Many.
some good backgrounds. Was a 1988 bronze medalist. And I'll get into that later, but Mike, you probably know who got 4th to him at 88 Olympics. And Sergio also was a 1992 Olympian, along teammates, obviously in 92 with Mike and Roque. Yes, go Sergio.
I got 4th to Mike in 1992.
In 92, but in 88,
so
in 88, yeah. So that's good. That's good. And then I'll go down Michelle. Michelle, her claim to fame is that my wife beat her in a 25 butterfly on the way out in a 200 butterfly in the first 25. That was her claim to fame. No, I've known Michelle for a while. She swam with my wife and growing up, but Michelle was a silver medalist at the World Championships in 1986 in Spain, which obviously between Barcelona and Madrid were pretty big stops for all four of you. Michelle was also multiple-time Pan Pac and Pan Am medalist. I had gold medals in both, right, Michelle? Am I right in that? I know Pan Pac. Oh, you're Michelle, your video or your audio is off. Click your audio. Whoops. Now,
If
you click on your screen and then click your audio.
Sometimes, Michelle, it helps if you log off and log back on real quick.
Yeah. Try that again. All right, and then we'll log back out, Michelle, and then log back in. All right, I'll move on to Roque, and then obviously Roque Santos is probably I would think the comedian of the group. We'd probably all agree. And Roque was Olympic trials champion in 1992, only to then give that up to Mike at the Olympics. But obviously a pretty amazing group of people that obviously crossed paths and swam as in college, obviously as in opposition of each other, and then obviously as teammates as they were cross paths in a lot of national teams. I know Jeremy actually swam on a 1995 Pan Pac team, right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
With Michelle. So so it should be fun. Should be a lot of stories is what we're looking for. And over the years, when these guys have come back, that's been the most fun, is to hear the stories that they share about their time. As we go through this, I'm just going to start off with a few basic questions, and we'll kind of keep it kind of simple and early, but we'll go with the where the questions go. But let's start off just what Jeremy and I have been doing with most of our guests, is just ask the basic questions. How did you learn to swim? Summer league, that kind of thing. How did you get your start swimming? Let's go, Mike. You're up at the top, so let's have you start off.
All right. I was basically anywhere that I could find water. I was in love. I couldn't get enough of it. So find me a mud puddle and I'd try and swim in it. So my grandmother eventually taught me to swim when I was very young, and couldn't keep me out of the pool after that. Summer leagues in the MCSL for years and years, and just really, really loved the sport and loved being able to be in the water.
I know one of your summer league records that wasn't broken until about 4 or 5 years ago in the 200 IM. So you had some summer league records for a long time.
When did you start swimming year round, Mike?
I was, I think, 9 years old. So swam the first summer, and then, really wanted to stay in the pool, and started swimming at Bethesda Chevy Chase YMCA. So it was an interesting start.
I think that's great for some of the kids on this call to hear, because some of them think if you don't start when you're 4, you're way behind. So it's great to hear that, when you're 9, you started swimming year round, and they didn't, it wasn't necessarily a super early start.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Sergio, tell us about how you got started in swimming. I think a lot of us have heard this story, but it's always a good one.
Oh, I think, okay. We don't remember many things from when we were 2, 3, 4 years old. But I remember I was 3 years old, standing behind this little girl, and this guy that used to teach lessons in swimming was grabbing every kid like this and throwing them in the water. And everybody was like, the girl in front of me was screaming like there was no tomorrow. So they threw me in the water, and I guess I didn't scream. I don't remember anymore. That was my first experience. And then I think to me, swimming became like my home. Like my father left home when I was 3 years old. So I didn't have a dad, and my mom worked 2 jobs. So I was always from pre-K or whatever, right next to a pool. So it was kind of my daycare center in a way, away from the school. So I grew up in a pool. So we don't have summer league. I was a very bad swimmer growing up until I was maybe 17. And so my summers were very long because I didn't go to any competition. So my mom would send me to her mom's town, small town, and they had a kind of a big garden where they grew plants and things. And so they had a pond, like a pool, a little pool. So I would clean it every time, and I would just practice that on my own every morning. And then I would get out of the house and be a menace to society for the rest of the summer. So then, so that's my recollection to swimming. So swimming has maybe became because of a necessity, but it became part of who I am, because that was the best thing that happened to me. Because we cannot talk about the stories that I can give you about being a menace to society in a city like Barcelona. It's not good.
Yeah.
Now I'm a reform. If I don't wear this, I wear like something with numbers.
I really love
know
the idea that that swimming is that great escape from anything you're dealing with. And, it's your time and your place, and it seems like that's really what was special for it from swimming for you.
I think so. I think not having a dad, and it was a society where the dad always took you. It was a dictatorship, and the dad was a patriarchal type of thing, and takes you to the soccer games and the weekends, takes you to this. So I grew up with none of that. So I think my mom being outside of the house was also, we grew up alone. My mom was awesome, so is my hero in a way. But I think swimming became my father figure in a way, if I make sense. It's hard to explain, but it became what showed me what I should do in my life.
Sure.
Right. That's awesome. Good. Roque, why don't you go next? Fire away.
I was hoping we could hear him.
Yeah, your volume's off also. Nah. It's still off.
You gonna get out?
Yeah, go
out and come back in.
I think you're very far away. You're in California.
Yell louder, right? All right. Michelle, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Excellent, great. So when I was probably 5, my mom took me to this swim meet that was in the area where there was a local woman who'd won like 3 gold medals. Her name was Melissa Belote. And my mom was all about doing everything that was free. So she's like, oh, let's go to this. It's free. So we went there, and I was watching the swim meet. We had no idea what we were watching. And she said, oh, do you want to do this? I'm like, sure, why not? So she signed me up for the Alexandria Y swim team. And we really had no idea what we were doing. I remember I reported to practice, and there was a really, really great coach. His name was Al Marks. And he was telling everybody, okay, get in and do 100 freestyle. And I was 5, maybe I was 6. And I thought, oh my God, 100 laps? I can't do 100 laps. How am I going to do this? And so everybody's like jumping in the water. I'm like, well, I'll just try. Like, I'll just follow along. And then we'd be swimming along, and I'd be like, okay, 1, 2, 3. And then we'd stop. I'm like, why are we stopping? We're only at like 4. And then he'd be like, okay, let's do a 50. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, 50, I can do 50. And then all of a sudden we'd stop again after a couple. And I was so confused. And I remember, I think after the first 2 weeks, I got out of the water and after practice, and I went up to the coach, and I got enough courage to ask him, when you say 50, do you mean like 50 laps? And he's like, oh, no, it's yards. I'm like, okay. So, I started there, and then started swimming year-round in summer league.
That's cool.
For the Colonial Swim League.
Oh yeah, that's good. Roque, what about you? Where did?
I just want to comment on Michelle. If you can hear me,
we can hear you.
That acknowledge that brain she has. So obviously she went to Stanford. That's why they accepted her there. I can say that to Michelle because I know what her career is and what she's done. And I went to Cal, just so you guys know, and that's why she went to Stanford.
Right.
Cal's too. Cal's good.
Cal's okay.
Yeah.
I came from a big family. I got 4 older brothers and 3 older brothers, a sister, and a younger brother. And in the summertime in Chico, California, where it gets to be 100 degrees, dry heat, we swim in the summertime. I was a summer rec swimmer in Chico, California, and it's what we did. We'd go to swim meets. I'd steal other people's, their ice chests. I'd get in there, get the graham crackers, the grapes from other people's things, and it was that was fun. That's where I grew up, is just loving summertime swimming all the time. And I had an older brother that walked on at UC Berkeley, Cal. He became the captain. They won NC2A, so I wanted to emulate my older brother, David. So I went to school at Cal, and in my freshman year at Cal, 1986, that was my first time swimming year round. So I had a lot to learn. In high school, this is for Jeremy, you know, I played football, I played basketball, I played soccer till the 8th grade. So swimming for me was just about April or May, June, to August. And that was my swimming until I walked on at UC Berkeley and tried to follow my brother's footsteps.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the neatest thing about it is all four of you, very different paths, very different, experiences. I know Jeremy, hearing his experience, same way. But obviously all did amazing things in our sport. Tell me this, as you got a little older, when did you know that swimming was going to be your thing? Was it right away? Obviously, Roque, yours is going to be different than some of the others, but when did you, and I think Sergio too, when did you know swimming was going to be your sport? Let's start off, Mike. Why don't you fire away?
I always wanted to swim in the Olympics. I wanted to be a good swimmer, but I tried every sport there was. So, for a long time there, I wasn't sure whether swimming was going to be it, but I always came back to swimming. So I think probably in high school was when I realized, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Did you was that later in high school, early in high school?
I think a little later. I mean, I did pretty well in high school, but it wasn't until my junior or senior year that, swimming took precedence over everything else, I think.
Gotcha.
Did you want to mention your college too, since everybody's dropping that?
I went to Michigan, yes, and I'm quite happy that I did.
Little colder than the California schools, though.
Yeah, there's that.
Is that why we didn't even mention where you guys live, but is that why you live where you live? Because you did go to school in Michigan.
Yes, 7 years in that tundra. So I've gone as far as I can from that. It's about 85 degrees every single day here in the Cayman Islands. So I've been here for 25 years. I haven't thought about going back up north for any period of time. So yeah, that was a big deciding factor.
I was very seriously worried about your internet connection. I'm glad it came through today.
Me too.
That's good. Michelle, go ahead. Tell us a little bit. When did you know that, hey, this swimming it's for me?
I probably pretty early on. We didn't have a lot of opportunity in my family to do multiple sports, for financial reasons. So it was kind of one sport, and so I did that one, and I liked it. And I think it wasn't until I was about 10 that I felt as if it was something that I would do, into high school and beyond.
Right.
So I did a lot of other things besides swimming, but sport-wise, I just did swimming.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot different than
I read an article one time, and this is a long time ago, so if I butcher it, that it wasn't until your senior year that you actually were able to make the high school team.
Yeah, and that was because we didn't have a team. So
then it was
yeah.
Started your senior year. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and it was so fun too, because all these kids that I had grown up swimming with in summer league at my local pool, they were all my friends all those years, but I wasn't swimming with them anymore. And so then senior year they started a team at T.C. Williams High School, which is the movie from in that movie Remember the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. They built a pool, and we had that year, and I got to swim with all my friends, and it made a lot of memories that year. It was really
my nieces and nephews swim in that pool.
Oh, do they Chinkapan?
Yeah, they do. They do. It's pretty cool.
The 7-lane, 25-meter kind of pool.
Yeah. Creative, but it's good. Good. Sergio, tell us a little. When did you said 17? Give us a little more. That's when you started getting better. When did you know swimming was what you were going to do?
I think at some point early on my elementary school, we had in the past in Spain, we had gymnastics or physical education every day and swimming. So we would go to the pool too. And there was they make this company, kind of like a swimming company, like a Speedo or Tier, made this booklet of this lifeguard saving this kid and how this kid couldn't swim, became an Olympic champion. So I wanted to be that kid. I wanted to, and then too, when I was 8 years old or 9 years old, whatever it was, very early, I wanted to be a swim coach. So that's what I remember. I think, it's always been part of my life, and has, as dysfunctional as I am, has kept me in a very good straight line. So to me, it's, I don't recall any time not thinking about swimming. When I was a professional athlete, or after I graduated from college, then I'll tell you which school I went. That my school has a part of Michigan, a part of Stanford, and a part of Cal. Well, I went to 2 schools anyway, but I did a couple other things. I had a couple of businesses, just because when I was a professional athlete, allowed me the time to do that, and I realized that I really wanted to be a coach and keep involved with swimming. So I went to Indiana University, but then I transferred to the American University. The American University is like the American University in DC. A lot of people, when they ask me, which school did you go? And I say, the American University. I said, no, what school did you go? Because, so the American University is part of Stanford, Michigan, and all that. And that's where I went. I got the best out of it.
No Tennessee in there, right?
Absolutely. Tennessee, the Appalachians, West Virginia. Everything.
They're all in there.
All in.
Good. Roque, go ahead. Tell us when did you?
Well, for me, it was about having heroes. So I had an older brother who was older than I am, and he walked on at Cal and went to Cal, and then it started like at Thanksgiving, because I don't live that far. I still live in California, but I don't live that far from Cal Berkeley. And growing up, so he'd bring home friends. He brought home a friend, Per Arvidsson, right? And Per came to my house and opened up the Guinness Book of World Record, and then like his name was there in it, and I'm like, wow. And he was in my house, right? Like he was in my house, this guy that was a world record holder. And then it was my brother's friend. Like, so this started my love. And I went to the 80 trials and watched my brother not make the Olympic team. And first time I snuck on the pool deck, which is still a tradition at the Olympic trials, and walked around and met people like Tracy Calkins and I saw, a bunch of people. So, but for me, I played in Chico. We were limited because year round, it gets cold. It's outdoor swimming. So I played basketball. I played football all the way through. And so when I got to Cal, we had a guy on our team when I was a freshman named Matt Biondi, who was like a god. He's part of the what I call the royal family of swimming, right? Those people. There's a couple of them. They're like royal, and Matt Biondi was beyond that, right? And so to be around him was awesome. And then my whole thing was I just wanted to see how good I could be. So I was just thankful to actually be there and be a part of it. And in high school again, there he goes. Yeah. There you go. So the other part of it was the
can I add something about Roque?
Yeah, go ahead. He's going to say I'm the white Michael Jordan. Go
yes. He was
listen, the absolute truth. I was the best basketball player on the 1992 Olympic swim team. That was the year of the dream team. That's what I tell myself anyway. I don't know if that's 100% true.
I could not play any sport. That's what I thought. I was very uncoordinated. And then here comes this guy that really scared me. The first time I met him at NC2As, I could barely speak English. I swim an event. I swim really bad. I'm in the locker room, and he's this guy, bald, like, hey, good job. And I'm like, huh? I didn't understand. And then when I was training with Mike in DC, he walks through the door, and I'm like, oh, I know this guy. Wow, that's the weird guy from the locker room. And
I love it that we met in a locker room.
Well, at that time there was not so much safety things.
Right.
They should have been safety things because you should have not been in the locker room. But then I remember when we became friends and we lived together, and then he would tell me all these stories about how good he was in basketball. So I call him the Michael Jordan
I figure
That's
that,
my claim to fame. Yeah.
I figure that Mike and Rock were the two tallest guys on the 92 team, right? You guys were probably in the.
Yeah, that's good. Well, tell us this. So obviously, to get where you get in this sport, it takes family, it takes teammates. Share with us a little bit of, obviously your immediate family, and then what becomes your swimming family. I know that you guys all, cross paths and along your swimming careers, and share with that kind of that family environment that started with your actual immediate family, mom and dad, to where you cross paths with some of you, and it doesn't have to just be you four, but people that you really were close with along the years, whether it was at college or obviously when you swam together. Share some of that, that family bond. Mike, why don't you go give us a little bit of background?
Well, I mentioned my grandmother taught me to swim, and of course my parents were at every meet. They always were there, completely supportive. I remember my mom driving me to practice at 4 a.m, and she'd stay there. She'd sleep in the car while I was in the workout, and then drive us home. And I didn't realize what a sacrifice that was until now that my wife and myself are taking my daughter to swim, and I understand what that was. So it was huge, but. You hit it on the head. It's not just your immediate family. It's the swimming family that really makes the difference to me. I mean, Roque and Sergio were there through everything that I went through, and hopefully I was with them at the same time. But I look back, and some of the best memories I have are not necessarily when we were in the swimming pool together, but afterwards. We would go out and we'd have our dinner sometimes on that one night that we got off a week, and I remember going.
No, we had practice. Joseph wouldn't be there, and we'd leave.
No.
Hold on.
Stop
trying
there.
to figure out whether you should leave.
No.
If he was going to come back.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe
you guys will leave. You guys will leave, and I will keep practicing because and then because I couldn't lie to Joseph. I could lie to everybody else, but I couldn't lie to him because the next day Joseph wouldn't ask Mike, wouldn't ask Roque, would ask me, "Hey, Sergio, come here, sit."
Yep.
So, how was practice? And I'm like, don't ask me, and I will leave because. So, oh sure, yeah.
Well, I assume Michelle didn't get any days off, so.
No.
400 IM, 200 fly. You don't get days off.
So, Michelle, I'm going to throw something out that I remember before you tell us kind of your family. And I number one, I heard, before I even met you, from my wife, they used to talk about your mom. And at meets, it was at the top of, everybody in the pool could hear, "Go, Michelle! Go, Michelle!" So I can tell you this: that your mom is famous in the DC swimming world. That's for sure. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so it was just me. Not unlike Roque, I had a really small family. So I know that Mike had Sophia, who I always loved. Your sister, Sophia, was so nice and sweet. But yeah, it was just me, and my parents were very dedicated. They were both really athletic themselves, and that's kind of what their thing was. And so yeah, they came to every meet, and they were probably working side by side with Mike's parents, through the whole all those years, and did timing. And my mom became an official. And she had this one thing that she would always do when I was swimming IM, where every time I came out of a breaststroke pullout, I would lift my head out, and all of a sudden I hear this squeeze. It's like, better squeeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they were great, and traveled all around the country with me and made a lot of sacrifices to make sure that I could get to all the different meets. And my mom was queen of the snack bar. especially during summer league, where that's how the teams make a lot of their money. And I think she scooped a zillion of those what are those pudding cones, where they have like the ice cream cone thingy, and then they put the pudding in, and those were always a big hit. So yeah, so a lot of good memories. And as an adult now, I look back and it wasn't, it's not just the memories about the swimming, but it was family time too. Going in the car and going to those meets, just the way you spend time with family. It was nice.
That's cool. That's good. Sergio, go ahead. Give us, obviously you talk about your mom a lot and whatnot, but how did swimming become, and you talked about it already, but through your travel all over the world?
I think, for example, growing up, I didn't have, even though I'm a pretty outgoing person right now, I wasn't very outgoing in a way, because I spent a lot of time by myself going from one place to another. You imagine in a city like 2 million people, you have to take the subway by yourself when you're 10 years old, so it's tough, so you spend time on your own. But my mom was probably the person that unconditionally was always there. She would work every night shift, and if we had a competition on a Saturday, she would straight from the night shift to the hospital. And I think I got this. If you see me in my office, sometimes I'll be sleeping if you walk by. Well, my mom, without working the night shifts, my mom was always sleeping in the bleachers, but she always had a knife for whenever my sister or me or my brother later on were swimming to watch us. So, but through my career that I swam until I was 28 years old, I have an unbelievable number of relationships. I think one of the things that you learn in life, that you can break a world record, you can win a medal, or you can win the state meet, but that doesn't matter. I think, I have my medal from the Olympics somewhere in this house. I never put anything in a wall, because I think the most important thing is the relationships that you create with people, and I think I feel very lucky that I have created many relationships because of swimming, and nowadays, the older we get, the more you appreciate those, So I that would be the way I feel about swimming.
That's awesome.
So I found an old picture of all of us.
I was wondering what you were leaving.
Look at that.
There's
We look young.
Awesome. That's
Sergio,
awesome.
Roque, Mike, Mary Dowling, me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's good.
We were at some swim meet dinner.
I know Mary's on here listening, so she'll
Yeah.
see that picture come up.
That's good. That's good. Roque, why don't you share with us? I see your daughter says hi here on the.
Yeah, I made my daughters join the call because I don't get to talk about myself around them too much.
I didn't inflate the numbers, right? That's good. Make sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I just want them to listen. I actually made some of their friends do it too.
Oh, there we go. Good.
Yeah, I go there because they're, I did that. For me, it was, I loved being a kid going to swim meets where we lived. You'd have to drive a little bit to go to swim meets, and that time in the car with my mom or my brothers, or even with family friends, driving to the meet, those are just like awesome times. And then even, being with Mike and Sergio and Michelle, going to Fort Lauderdale or down to the North Carolina meet, those times, like Mike said, are just awesome. Those little things that happen that at the time maybe just like, why'd this happen to me? Planes delayed or whatever. It's like, but later you look back and go, that was awesome, right? And I could say the same thing about some of our training, right? So I think for me, making the Olympic teams, being in the water, having all my family there, seeing them in the stands, because this is what happens at the trial, right? You make the team, everybody goes crazy, then it kind of calms down. My family was still screaming and yelling, right? They were the only ones in the place screaming. So for me, like, and there, I'm just a little kid and I'm looking up. And so to me, that was the joy for them was, part of the thing. Even now, I go to my mom and she'll put a good tear in her eye and because for her, that was one of the greatest days for her as well, right? As a team we are. And then I can push it to the three people that are in the thing, in this call with us. And, that are our guest is that being a part of their career and what they've done, I feel it. And I didn't know a lot about Michelle's thing, and I'm sitting at home. There's not a lot to do, so I'm going on YouTube, and boom, I watched that 1986 World Championship trial meet in Orlando, where I think Michelle still lives, and she killed everybody. And I'm like, wait, I did not know she killed everybody. And because that was before, we didn't have the internet then. It was only Swim World magazine. We didn't have all those things where you actually knew everybody and know everything. So. Get to know her later.
It was also before Janet and Summer too. So, and after Tracy,
they're not that good.
So I just hit that sweet spot.
But to see that and to go, wow, she was awesome, and like she was great as a swimmer, but as a person, she's like so awesome. And to get to know her and to meet her, was to me like that's part of the little thing I take away from my time in the water.
Likewise, for all three of you.
Well, guys, we live in a time of a little kinder and gentler swim coach and swim programs, than they used to be. And I think, all of you can attest to the idea as well as Tim and myself that, it's pretty tough for us, some of the programs that we went through, and certainly the time that you guys spent swimming in Northern Virginia, in preparation for elite level swimming. You guys had some tough coaches and some tough workouts. I'd love to hear about, really about how hard it was to do what it was you were doing in preparation, let alone the competition. Mm-hmm. Now let's start with Roque, since we keep making Roque last.
Yeah. You want to start with me?
Yeah.
So understand. So my story is I'd like to tell people is that I went to the trials in '88. That was the first time in my life that I did not do my best time. And the guy in this call at that meet, you get out of the water, right? You didn't do well. You go to the warm down pool, and all of a sudden there's a lot of noise. Here's a hint: when you're at the Olympic trials and there's a lot of noise, you stop everything to see what's going on. So you stop and you look over there, and there's Mike Barrowman, 2:13.79. That was your time, right? Breaking the American record by over a second. And I'm like, who is this guy? And then he gets out of the water. I look over and I look at him. I'm like, that guy beat me by 10 seconds, right? And then I'm at NC Tways that next year, and Mike does it again. He goes 1:53.77. Yes, Mike, your competition knows exactly your time. So, and he was amazing. So then I have a great friend, Mark Henderson, who I went to Cal with. He's a Cal guy. You guys all know him because he was on one of these calls with Jeremy, gold medalist with Jeremy in the Olympics. And Mark goes, maybe you should go train with these guys. Get yourself in that environment where the best people are. And I'm like, hey, I'll try it. I was in this environment with Matt Biondi, and Matt Biondi was a freestyler. Let me try to see if I can go train with, Mike and his coach, whoever that guy is, and let's go there. So then my story is I go there and I go to the first three workouts. I'm very excited. I go to the first three workouts. One of the first things we do is 10 sets of 10 squat and jumps on 20 seconds. And I'm not looking at the guys and seeing how they're doing it. So I'm jumping up as high as I can. We're about the seventh one, and I all of a sudden, and I challenge every kid, not really, but seriously, do 10 sets of 10 squat and jumps on 20 seconds, jumping as high as you can. If you've never done it, by the time you get to 70, your legs are shaking. Okay. Then we had to get in the water and do Joseph's workout, which it wasn't easy. And then, understand that this other guy, Sergio, was there. I was like, well, he's really good, and Mike's really good, and I think I'm really good. And then I get in the water, and I am just destroyed. After 3 practices, not 3 days, 3 practices, I wake up the next day. I cannot move. That's not a joke. I couldn't move my body. So I missed the next 3 practices. And
you came out with some story that your grandfather died or something like that.
No, I know.
Well, that's what Joseph said. But I remember.
So
I remember.
I wanted to practice like this.
I
sit down next to Joseph. right? And he's like, you have beach muscles. They're really good for the beach, right? So I sit down next to him and he goes, I go, Joseph, I'm really sorry. I can barely walk. I figured the best thing I could do to, because I came all the way from California and I'm just so sore. And he looks at me, he goes, you miss another workout? You don't come back. And I'm like, and so I didn't say anything. I got in the water and I don't believe I never missed a workout again.
Weren't you late for the first one or something like that? And he told you to take off?
Well, that might have happened, but my memories, I don't remember. There were a lot of things that happened that first year. I remember like the first time I was a set of 200 breaststrokes and we only had one lane. And so Mike and Sergio went first together. And then I went down the middle of the pool. That means, right, that'd be okay if I get there in the time and they're doing their pullouts and I'm on top of them, then that's okay. Except I wasn't, they were going, this is honest, my memory, they were going like 207s from a push in practice and I'm going like 219, right? So it doesn't work. So all of a sudden, like I'm doing this and these guys are like, and they're just going and I'm just so behind them, so far behind them. And it was like, it was pretty hard. And I talked to Sergio the other day. And Sergio, what did you think? How long do you think I'd last?
Not much, because I remember tapping you in the back, the shower, trying to tell you, don't worry, you're going to be okay, thinking this guy's out. Plus, I don't know if I ever told you, I think that day that we did the 450s or 250 easy A rounds, that we were swimming, Mike and I in the same lane and you in the middle. I know Joseph told me to hit you a couple of times. And
of course he did.
Yeah. So every time that we went by, I didn't want to disappoint my coach. Every time that we went by, I tried to do something, or and I'm sorry. I know you're my best friend, and
I'm sensitive.
but that's how we created a great relationship. Every once in a while, I had to slap you.
Hey guys,
that sounds like a great relationship.
Next time to send Roque last, okay? Mike, I want to hear about some of the hard work stories you remember.
How can I top that? I had forgotten, but did you, or maybe I didn't know this, did you say that you had only been training year-round for like 2 or 3 years by the time you came into that madhouse?
Yeah, so in 86, my freshman year in college was the first time I swam year-round. And in 89, the summer of 89, I went out to train with you. So, yes.
So for those folks that are listening and don't know, these three guys trained together with a coach named Joseph Nagy, who's a pretty strong personality himself. So you can imagine these four got together and some pretty special stuff was happening. And certainly the level of work that was happening was well beyond the times. I don't think many people had ever done what you guys were doing before. So it's pretty groundbreaking to see, some of the stuff that you guys had done. And no slouch in that same area would be Michelle, because her coach is still on our staff today. And we know the kind of things that he still does with his swimmers. And a lot of that was born by working with you. So, tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, so that was with John Flanagan, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So John, I absolutely love John. I loved him when I was swimming for him, and I love him now. He's one of the best people. And there's some days when just in regular life now, things will be happening, and maybe I'll be like, things aren't going very well, and I'll start thinking about the kinds of things that he would tell me. One of those things at the end of practice, like every single day as we were leaving, no matter what happened, he's like, okay, gang, onward and upward. And so sometimes like on a really tough day, still I'm like, all right, onward and upward. So with him, actually we did some really tough sets, a lot of IM work and just some really tough things. But actually the toughest workout I remember ever doing was when I was swimming at Stanford. And the coach that I had there, Richard Quick, he had us do this incredibly just crazy set where it was a 500 free on 530. and then a 400 IM on 430 yards, then a 500 free on 520, and then a 400 IM on 430, and then a 500 free on 510, and then a 400 IM on 430, and then a 500 free on 5 minutes. And I was not, I mean, it was the kind of thing where I think I was going 428 on the 400. I was working really hard to do that. Maybe a little bit better than that.
Did you make 500?
What?
You make the last 500?
I don't think I made the last 500, but I remember I was in college and I had like a really bad test that day. I think I failed, some test, and I was already in a bad mood. And
Sounds like you failed 2 of them.
And I was coming into the wall and I wasn't getting any rest, and then I was starting to cry because it was such a bad day. But I was like, oh my God, like I don't even have time to empty my goggles. Like what happens when when the tears get too high in the goggles, and I don't even have time to empty them. But I got through it, and I think I made it through like the 5:10, but I didn't make the 5 minutes. But
that's awesome.
It was crazy.
That's good. I see a chat in the chat room. Freddie Havid is making a comment. I know you spent a few years swimming with him. A lot of hypoxic work and always flip turns. So
I'd like to hear what Mike thinks about the 400 breaststroke, 4 up, 4 down. If he can explain that to people and how he did that, I would like to know.
So that was our set. I mean, that was the thing that was Joseph's staple. We had to do 4 up, 4 down breaststroke, and I'll never forget. I always thought
with
it was
flip
hard.
turns, Mike. Don't forget
with
the flip turns.
Yep, no breathing on the wall, just keep going. And I always thought it was hard. And then I don't know if you guys remember, but our friend Tommy Sullivan got joined in with us one day and started doing the same set. And Tommy's over there in the corner, turning literally blue, purple, blue. And I look up, I said, maybe we should stop the set. Joe says, no, he'll be fine. Just keep going, keep going. But that was the kind of attitude that he had with that set. And it became our staple. That's what we had to do in order to mark our improvement over the times. That was our main set.
How does that play out? What's 4 up, 4 down?
So 4 strokes, swimming breaststroke on the surface with breath, then underwater for 4 strokes, even if it's part of the turn. So you couldn't breathe for half of the swim.
Sure.
We do 1, 2, 3 of those at a time, and it was our test set.
So it wasn't just to make it through, Jeremy. It was, let's see how fast you can go.
Yeah. No pull outs.
It wasn't a survival thing. So that is a serious, I want to die and I'm going to die set. And Mike Davison, who's on the chat, knows about it. Fred Habib, who's on the chat, knows about it. Even Mary, because she was across the pool, she knows about it. It is a set that will just make you want to kill yourself.
Don't worry, guys. My kids are going to know about it real soon. So,
but here's the trick. Here's what I learned, because when you're there, so you go to Rome, you got to do what the Romans do. So when I talked about the squat and jumps, right? They didn't jump as high as they could every time. Oh, okay. I figured that out later. You don't push off the wall and do 4 strokes breaststroke, Jeremy, because if you do 4 strokes breaststroke on top of the water, you're going to do 1 underwater and then do a flip turn, because you do 5 strokes a lap at a 25-yard pool. And then you do a pull out 3 strokes. You ain't going to do it. So what Mike did, and then I figured it out, was you do 2 up. No, you go 2 down, then 4 up, then 2 down. Is that how you do it? Or it's the other way around? But you go 2 up, 4 down in the middle of the lap, 2 up before the flip turn, and then do the flip turn, then 2 up again. 4
it's
down.
It's a hypoxic. It lost a little bit.
This is when Michelle goes and he went to Cal, right? So, but it was. And I'm going to agree with Mike. It was a staple set. Mike never wanted to lose that 400, 4 up, 4 down. Never.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll say it. So then Mike, one time, maybe somebody was beating Mike at the 400 for the first time ever. I know you guys know what I'm talking. So guess what happened? We come to the wall. Mike's going to get beat. We touch the wall. What does Mike do? Mike does a flip turn, does another 50. So then you're like, no, I still won. I thought we had another 50 to go.
I remember that.
What's going on here? You knew that was the last lap. But that was awesome.
And then we get yelled at by John.
Yeah, we all did.
So
because he thinks Mike's right? And because we stopped early.
Sergio, you're going to get yelled at anyway. It might as well be for that.
Hey, I'll tell you a story too. This doesn't involve them, but involves Joseph. When I was 26 years old, I had an issue in Spain that I couldn't swim in Spain anymore, even though I was the only Olympic medalist. They closed the pools on me. And so I called Joseph and I said, hey, Joseph, I want to come to train with you in Budapest because he was in, and he's like, no, you need to stop swimming, stay with your wife, do not come to Hungary. You see, you're done with swimming. I said, no, I'm training very hard, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I'm in the hospital a month before for a while with a kidney stone. They have to do all this stuff. And right when I'm out of the hospital, I leave my wife in Spain. She just moved from America. She's in Barcelona by herself, and I moved to Budapest. Here we go. The first or the second day, I don't remember.
You're Sandy like that.
Oh, Sandy loved it. Oh, I'm coming with you. I said, no. You go. You stay in Barcelona because what are you going to do in Budapest? He's going to kill me every day. When I come back from the pool, I don't want to talk to you. I want to go to bed. So we have to, you have to keep our relationship the best we can. So she stayed in Barcelona. And so I'm in Budapest and we're training maybe the second or third day. And he just puts me in this room. It was like a concentration camp room. And dry land, hot, this, that, and then I have two practices. On the second practices, I'm 26 or 27 years old. I'm crying. I'm just, I cannot. It's 7,000, 8,000. I don't know. He wants me to talk because the condition was like, Sergio, if you come to Hungary, you open your mouth one time in practice, and you have to leave. So his wife at that time walked in. It's very late at night. Walked in and it's like, Joseph. Because everybody else left, and he was just giving me more sets, and I was crying, trying to make everything. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He explained to her, I guess, or whatever, and she told him to let me go, and he let me go. But so he's one of my best friends, and I'm godfather of one of his kids, and Mike has an amazing relationship, and Roque or whatever. But he was very ruthless.
Tell us a little bit about, some of the starting over stories on when you weren't going fast enough, some of the sets. Talk a little bit about, some of his, some of the things that he did that really pushed you guys to be great.
I think one of the things that he was very good is like he could push you. He knew when to push you. Like he would push you because he knew that you could break that wall. And the day that he tried to push you, but he realized that he couldn't, he let you go. You know what I mean? So he was very good at that. And I think he had a very good eye.
My memory is never, ever that, Sergio. He never.
but because I think the oxygen got to
So
the hypoxic thing got to your brain.
There was a Friday night. We did an unbelievable killer workout. It was one of those times with 850s on a minute. If you go 29.3 or slower, it doesn't count. So he says that, of course, Mike does the Mike thing, which is, oh, that's no good. Can't gonna happen. And then, Mike does like a 27.9 and I don't make it, right? So the next thing you know, I maybe Sergio's with me, but we're doing like 8, 10, 12 extra 50s. And I remember it was like an 8, 9, 10,000 yard breaststroke workout on a Friday night. And the next day, this is true. The next day I get in the car with Sergio because he has the Ivy League championships or whatever his championships are, and he has to swim the mile and some other race. And I remember driving there and I am so sore. And he jumps in the water and he kills everybody in the meet. And I'm sitting there going, how is this guy doing that after the set we did last night? It was one of the most, now that's not a gold medal. That's just a stum. I know it was a big conference meet thing, but it was unbelievable to be a witness of that swim meet, Sergio, that Saturday. And I'll never forget, because I remember the night before we were absolutely destroyed and he was never. And Mike Davison's agreeing with me, and so is Fred Aviv on the chat. And they're saying he never let us go. That's why on those Wednesdays or Tuesdays when he wasn't there, we said, I'm out. And we went. And it wasn't every Tuesday, by the way, or Wednesday, whatever day off was, or day that he wasn't there.
I remember that day we drove to Princeton.
Yeah, Princeton.
And we swam. I had to swim the mile. That was my first time swimming the mile in my life.
And do you remember your time? It was unbelievable.
15:26. I broke the Ivy League, the record over there. And then I had to swim the 200 breaststroke 15 minutes later against Nelson Devil
Also,
It was-
15.
and I beat him. I was not shy for taper, and I was surprised because but yeah, but I remember. I don't know if you were with me because after the summer, sometimes I was by myself with Joseph because he was an assistant at the American University. And one day he tells me, at the end of a very hard practice, he goes, "Okay, now Sergio, 2 400s butterfly." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, 2 400s butterfly. And if you don't break 4 minutes, you're going to keep going. So I smartly enough, maybe I shouldn't do this here, but I go look at him and go, "Are you on drugs?" And he lost it. He just lost it.
Yeah.
So the first one, I'm swimming. I'm thinking, I'm not going to make this. There's no way. I'm so tired. I go 4-1 something. And he just looks at me and makes me repeat it. And so I went 359 and 358 the next two or something like that. And then I realized that he knew that I could do that. Make sense? We cannot do this today with our swimmers because we will lose our jobs. But I think he was very good at understanding when he could push you or not. When he couldn't push you, he would get very upset at us, throw things in the water, leave the pool, and then that was his way of accepting that you couldn't do something that day. Try to make us feel guilty, but he will give you the afternoon off, And I remember a couple of times after he left like that, the three of us, would buy a couple of pizzas or whatever, and some orange juice, and then go to his house, knock at the door, and food with him, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, Sergio, you called it. He knew exactly how much we could take and exactly how much to let us go. I have a little story. I was sitting on the beach with him in Barcelona the night after the 200 breaststroke, and we were chatting, and it was the end of my career, and I knew it wasn't going back. So I said, Yoshi, we sometimes cheated when you weren't there. And he says, "Of course I know that. Why do you think I wasn't there?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I left because I knew you guys couldn't take it, so I gave you the day off. That was my way." I said, "I would have appreciated staying at home rather than." So he knew exactly what he was doing. He was really, really good like that.
Well, we've been on almost an hour and we haven't even touched national team experiences and what it's like to represent your country on an international scale. And it's such a special thing that so few people get to do. And I know everybody that's listening in would love to hear a little bit about what it means to you guys to, get an opportunity to represent your country on an international scale. And maybe a memory or two of something that really sticks out to you from that experience. And I'll go with Michelle first because you're in the middle, and you're Michelle.
Only one here.
You are.
Yeah, so I made my first national team in 1984. I had missed making the Olympic team in June. And they had this really awesome trip at the end of the summer after the Fort Lauderdale Nationals, where they took 6 people to six females and 6 males to China. And I think that's probably one of the most awesome ways you can start your national team experience in a small group like that, and going to a country where in 1984 it wasn't really open. You couldn't just travel to China back then. So we were seeing things that most of the world hadn't ever seen, for many years. And so I got to know those other 11 people really well. And we were coached by Mark Spitz's coach and Sherm Shavor. And he was, kind of at the end of his career at that point. And I think they were just like, "Oh, let's, give the guy a little fun trip that he can go on." And he was a real character. And so we were participating in the Chinese nationals, and we really had no idea what was going on. We had an interpreter, but it was a little bit dicey. And before we even started to meet, they took all of us into a room, and they started like doing all these measurements and tests on us. And we would have to like hit this button that would go off, like it would light up, and they were testing our like reflexes, and we had no clue what they were trying to do. But and then we would swim in this 50-meter pool with this like huge stands and tons of people, and they were completely quiet. There was not a peep. So you'd have like, thousands of people on the stands, and you could hear a pin drop, and then they were all smoking. We're like trying to swim and like trying to get through the haze of the smoke. And Sherm Savor, the coach, he would be up at the very top of the stadium, the arena. And it would be deathly quiet at the start. And the starter would say, like in Chinese, he would say, "Take your mark." But of course, we didn't know what that meant. So it took us a couple events to figure out like when we were supposed to take our mark. And we're about to go down and take our mark. And then Sherm yells from the very top of the arena. She says, "Don't embarrass us." Next, the gun goes off, and you're like, "Oh my God!" So it was just a really pretty special way to start the the next 10 years of different national team trips, and all the friends I made and people I got to meet, and places I was able to go. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think the travel portion of it is something that, I didn't realize that was going to be something that stuck with me for the rest of my life, is the fact that I got to see these places. Oftentimes it was just a hotel and a pool, but I was in that country, but it charged me up to want to be back and get that bug to travel. So it really did work that way for me as well. Mike, tell us a little bit about your experiences for national team and getting to represent the country.
Well, that was always fantastic, and I loved being able to represent the United States and travel all over the world. And we saw some wonderful places. I saw my favorite place on the earth, Perth, Australia, a couple of times for the World Championships, and I never would have gotten there so far away. So that opportunity was great. But, I look back on it, and the things that I enjoyed, and for the people that are listening to this, I know that a lot of them will have the chance to swim in college. That was really the highlight for me was, I'll never forget my first year at Michigan. We swam Stanford, who was number one for years and years and years, and they came to Michigan. It was the first time they'd come to Michigan in many years. And we had this old 25-yard pool, which was like a coliseum. It had 3,500 seats in it. And the campus got news of it, so it was absolutely packed. I mean, to the point where there were probably 4,000 people in there. And just the screaming noise and the fun from that meet, that's the kind of thing that I really, really loved. And we actually won by 1 point, by the way, in that meet. So to me, that dual meets and swimming for a college team was actually more of a highlight than even swimming on that national team. So, and I know a lot of the people on this call will have the opportunity to do that. So it's a neat thing.
Certainly memories that can't be broken, and talking about a brotherhood, those teammates you spend that 4 years with, and you kind of come of age. It's really a big part of the swimmer's career. So a lot of the swimmers on this call are younger than a college age, and they still have that to look forward to, and it's really a special part of what the swimming experience is all about. Roque, what do you got to say about representing your country?
Well, last night you got a text from one of your old teammates. Did you get it?
Was it
from Ricky Biscuits?
Oh yeah, I didn't know. Hello, Roque, from Ricky. He's on here.
Yeah. So right. So what's the best part? The best part is that for example, I know Ricky Biscuits. He's a good friend, a 4-time Olympian. Swam at Tennessee.
I was my first American record with him on the men's relay. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's in a chat group of Tennessee people with Jeremy. So I was at his house last night for dinner, social distancing, and I told him, "Hey, I'm going to be on this call." And he goes, "Do I go with Jeremy?" He goes, "Oh, Jeremy, let me text him right now." It was like 10 o'clock at night.
I got it this morning.
But for me, to be on any national team is just an amazing thing. I owe it all to these two guys and our coach. They taught me a lot about swimming, how to swim, how to prepare, how to act, how to be. I messed up many times. And, to me, when you have those heroes, like I talked about earlier, and then now you're swimming with these guys, I got the chance to push off the wall and be next to the number 1 and the number 2 best 200 breaststrokers in the world. And I'm sitting there underwater going, what am I doing here? Right? Because I don't belong with these guys, and the way their work ethic. These two guys' work ethic was phenomenal. And it was very stressful. It was hard to do. And our coach was not nice most of the time, right? On this call, Alyssa put in the chat, how do you deal with the stress? My answer to that is part of is that you have to believe that you belong, and then you have to know yourself, right? So if you touch the wall and you see your time, like Sergio did at 1989 NC2As, he thought it was horrible. Me, I thought it was phenomenal, right? And he told that story. So that's why I have to say, Sergio, I was being honest. I thought you did great. He felt differently about himself, right? So to me as an athlete, that part of that stress is that somebody can say something to you. You have to know well, no, that was actually really good. Or, man, I'm just happy to be in between Mike and Sergio, because my first practice, they were lapping me. And apparently Sergio was, Dick Buckusing me, right? Or one of those middle linebackers. He's trying to do that to me. So to me, it's an honor to be a part of the national team. And the best part is now, going back to Ricky Biscuits, I'm friends with all these people, or I can travel places and actually know, oh yeah, this is where somebody lives, right? And even, Jeremy and Linn and I did a clinic in Kenyon about 10 years ago, and I got to spend some time with him. So all of that. And then now the new athletes that come up, I feel like I'm just as good as you guys, even though you're faster, but I have a connection with them, right? And I'm just proud and thankful that I got to do it, and all the pain that I went through is long gone. And now it's just, I'm thankful, but I can tell you, we all kind of forget how painful it was. But we're all so proud, and we all have those connections. And the last thing I want to say is that, when Mike Barrowman won his gold medal at the Olympics, I've always told people I'm a part of that gold medal. I'm a part of what he did, right? And all the accomplishments Sergio did, I'm a part of it. And even getting to know Michelle, when she did her things, I'm like, wow, that's my buddy Michelle, right? And so to me, that's what I take away from it all at the end of the day.
And Roque, I think something we have in common is both of you and I believe that we deserve to be in any room we're in. So I really like that part of you.
Yeah, no one's. I'm not better than anybody else. I got a lot of problems, like Sergio alluded to earlier. There's no question, but I also know, what you're better. You're better than me. Let's go. Let's see. And if you beat me on this one, we got the next one. Right. And so let's go.
Yeah. Only your true friends can really point out your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Sergio, you got an opportunity to represent your country in your country at the Olympics. Was that pretty special experience? Speaking from mine, I can say yes, it was.
Yeah, I think it's evolution, because you guys in America are born with love for your country, and I wasn't born with a love for my country. I think I was born in a dictatorship, and I was only the last 10 years of the 40-year dictatorship that was pretty rough, was pretty fascist, and and in Barcelona and Catalonia we speak two different languages, Catalan and Spanish. And I remember I never got beat up, but some of my friends got beat up by the police because we were speaking Spanish and they got caught. So when I represented Spain the first few times, I didn't really care. I just wanted to compete at the international level. So it's not that I feel bad saying that, because coming to America, one of the things that I learned, it was very hard for me to understand how you have to listen to the national anthem before every event. Or for us, if you put the national anthem in Spain before one event, and probably you get shot. so I learned how to understand that my country is not a political thing. It's the people that I know, and being able to take a nap. We're very famous for the siestas, having good tapas, a good chat. So that was pretty hard. And so later on, the way I said to people is that it's not a right to represent your country; it's a privilege, and I really feel that it was a privilege for me to compete in Barcelona and my hometown in the pool that the Olympic Games were done. I trained there for 7 or 8 years. It was built in 1972 for the European Championships. If there were 10,000 people, 8,000 people, I knew them. You know what I mean? Because in 1988, I was the first medal in any sport for Spain, and it was a very big deal. And I was the first medal for somebody born and raised in Barcelona and Catalonia in the history of the Olympics. So it was a very big deal. So it's huge. And I think the way I would define it to people is it's a privilege. It's every time that you represent your country. I know I'm a mercenary. I have two citizenships. I have a Spanish citizenship and American citizenship, and I've represented many different countries internationally as a coach. But I think it's still, it's a privilege. It's something special. Representing the culture of a place. Forget about the politics. So I think and I feel very lucky that I've been able to do that.
Pretty awesome. Well, guys, it's about almost going on an hour and 15 minutes here. And it's been pretty awesome to sit here and just hear the stories. I know you guys could talk forever. Literally, Roque and Sergio, I'm pretty sure you guys could talk forever. So, but thank you so much for your time. I want to again thank Fitter and Faster and David Arlick and Tyler Cleary for helping us get together and do this. These are the kind of things that, in a crazy time right now and everything going on with the pandemic, this has been one of the fun things is to hear more from some of our, the people that really paved the way for this generation of swimmer. And, some of the things that you had to go through, the struggles that some of you had to go to after finishing college to keep swimming, has really paved the way for pro swimmers now. And just a really big thank you to all you guys for coming out here and spending some time with the crowd. We appreciate it.
Awesome room full of people. Thank you guys so much for a really, really fun chat. I would keep going, but Tim, I guess, out on the beach.
Is there a protocol for how long you should go? I don't know.
I think we probably should give these guys the rest of their afternoon and evening, but we really appreciate your time and what a special time it was. So thank you guys so much for everything, and hopefully we'll see you all face to face sooner than later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Good to see everybody.
Bye.
See you
Bye,
guys.
Ed Lauer.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.